Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and you know what time it is, and we're gonna get our Midweek Magic on. And don't be surprised if this week's Midweek Magic has you feeling a little on edge. Only able to use cards from the sets March of the Machines, Aftermath, Wilds of Eldraine, and Lost Caverns of Ixalan, we need to present a 60-card playable standard deck. But don't feel too bad, because honestly, you have a lot more resources here than you might think you do. And even for you brand new players, it doesn't look bad at all. But before we get into all that, allow me to do the awkward thing and promote the channel. A while back, one of my viewers was kind enough to point out that we are the only channel putting out timely midweek Magic content. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek Magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. So what do you say we put all this aside and just get to that? Alright, so first off, unlike last week, this week even brand new players still have a lot of resources to work with. From your new player experience, there is a ton of cards from Mom and Aftermath, including a lot of your higher end rares and mythics like Samut, Rankle, Hitsagu, all sorts of good things going on here, your Ozoliths, etc., etc. The list goes on and on. As you can see here, there's over 120 cards from your starter collection, including the full cycle of gain lands. In fact, you could build the starter deck for the black-white or green-white pretty much without using any cards outside of Mom. Since we have focused on the black-white Phyrexian Legion deck before for an Alchemy Midweek Magic, I thought this was a good opportunity to focus on some of the newer cards that could be added into the Be My +1 archetype. And I've come up with a pretty reasonable list here. As you can see, the only card that does not deal directly with +1/+1 counters is Cosmic Hunger, and maybe there's a fight spell there that we need to look at that I haven't thought about. But pretty much everything here comes from your new player experience. The exceptions being Angelic Intervention. Dusk Legion Duelist is in the Jump-In collection, so having a second copy of that should not be an unreasonable ask. Ozolith, same thing. You can easily have a second copy just from Jump-In at this point. Welcome to Sweet Tooth was, of course, from last season and well worth testing in this archetype. I don't know if it's ultimately going to make the cut, but it might. Botanical Brawler, you had 2 copies in the original deck. Obviously going to 4 here is a pretty good thing. Seapod Caretaker actually comes to us from the black-white deck. Fairgrounds Trumpeter, I can't remember if I added a 3rd copy or if there is already 3. Kami of Whispered Hopes, of course, adding a 3rd or 4th copy would be very realistic. And I think, the other card, Invasion of Moog, obviously this was meant to be in this deck conceptually. If you have a copy, go ahead and give that a shot in here. I wouldn't go more than 2 on this personally. And then Surk and Goreclaw from the, I believe it was the green-red new player experience. And we touched on Cosmic Hunger. The cards from the latest set, that being Lost Caverns, that I think we're trying is maybe a little additional fixing in Captivating Cave. This, of course, also contributes at the late game to that +1/+1 counter. Malamet Battleglyph, a 1-mana sorcery. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If the creature you control entered the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then those 2 creatures fight each other. So this is a fight, not a bite, so you are at risk of losing your creature, so time this wisely. Ironclaw Aspirant is a 2-drop. When it ETBs, it puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature. That can be itself. And then Explorer's Cache, a 2-mana artifact. It enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever a creature you control that has a +1/+1 counter on it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Explorer's Cache, and you can tap and move a +1/+1 counter from the cache on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. So all in all, only like 4 cards from the new set that I think are really worthwhile to test as budget cards. There are a couple higher end cards that might find a spot on this, depending upon your individual luck. But I really think this is going to be a solid deck to give a good try to. Of course, the lands are pretty basic, 6 plains, 13 forests, and then we're running 4 Blossoming Sands. The only other fixing in the deck is the Captivating Cave, as well as the Kami of Whispered Hopes. When we take a look at the higher rarity cards in Wilds of Eldraine, we see several really good contenders for this deck. I think most realistically is Warden of the Inner Sky. If it has 3 or more counters on it, it has Flying and Vigilance. And notice it says counters of any type. That might actually become relevant in some other archetypes. And you can tap 3 untapped artifacts or creatures you control, put a +1/+1 counter on this card, Scribe 1, activate only as a sorcery. It's a 1 mana base stats 1/2 that obviously gets bigger and more evasive. Really solid contender and arguably quite craftable. The exact quantity remains to be seen. The next card that I think a lot of people are looking at, mostly because it's green, is Cosmic of Confluence. And like this could be some kind of crossover cave deck with the Beamy deck. But honestly, I'm just not seeing it. I think just having a straight Caves deck is a lot better use for this card. Next up, we've got a Mythic Sovereign, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that and insult anyone. A 4 mana 3/4 with a Ward 2 legendary creature, Cat Noble. Whenever it attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So if it has a power of 4 and its base power is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2. There you go. Another card that a lot of people are talking about on this is the legendary artifact equipment Soul Cleaver. Equipped creature has Vigilance. Whenever another artifact or creature is put to the graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on the equipped creature. And notice these counters go on the creature, not on the equipment. So when that creature dies, you potentially lose the counters. I'm not seeing this being strong enough to find a slot in Beamy, and moreover, I'd bet dollars to donuts that a copy of this card is going to be in next year's New Player Experience decks, probably in the green-white deck. Last up, and possibly the best card out of all of these, is Threefold Thunderhulk, a 7 mana artifact creature gnome. When it ETBs, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever Thunderhulk enters the battlefield or attacks, create a number of 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens equal to its power, and 2, and sacrifice another artifact, put a +1 counter on Threefold Thunderhulk. And basically that activated ability you should use every single turn prior to Thunderhulk swinging, because every 1/1 gnome artifact that you sacrifice puts a counter on Thunderhulk, and then when it swings will replace itself with a new artifact. So really the mana is the restricting stipulation here, and just 1, maybe 2 copies of this in Beamy is going to be absolutely out of control.
And hey, just in case you didn't catch all that, Matt would like you to know that the deck list that we discussed in this video is going to have a link down in the doobly-doo to take you over to Aetherhub, along with a link to any other alternative lists that you might wish to consider. He only asks that you give it a little thumbs up when you're over there checking out the deck list. And I plan on live playing this event on Wednesday at 11 a.m. over on my Twitch channel, so definitely stop in and check it out. Because the Stronghold is so much more than just a YouTube channel, and you can find links to all of our other social media outlets in our profile. Because at the end of the day, we're all budget players. And as a community, we're stronger together. So like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all those things to show a little love. It's appreciated more than you know.